Hey lovely people, today I'm in mixed media mode, so welcome. We're about to get very messy here. Initially, I've taken a sheet of heavy duty watercolour paper cut to 11 by 11 and the first thing I'm going to do is create a resist. Now, I'm using Vicky Boutin's iridescent medium, and I've added to that some gel medium just to loosen it up because it was ridiculously thick, like stupidly so. And I'm going to put it through a stencil onto my background and just neaten that up a bit. There's nothing difficult about this. It is literally just scrape it through the stencil and then get it dry, because if I work over this before it's dry, I will create one hell of a mess. And as much as I like mess, it's not a constructive mess at that point. It's a messy, spludgy mess. You can see just how shiny this particular iridescent medium is. It's beautiful stuff. Next bit is onto the watercolour effect. Now I'm using PaperArtsy's ink infusions for this. I've added water to my paper, I've got a spray bottle, and I'm just adding the ink. It's a dry ink powder that when you add water, it hydrates and you get this gorgeous deep vibrant pigment out of it. I am using a cloth to sort of dab bits up, partly to help spread things around, as you can see, but also so that I don't saturate everything to within an inch of its life, and it gives me a bit more control over where the water is and helps with the drying out. I'm also adding a blue, basically because it'll make it a purple, and using my heat gun to dry, move things around. I've not got it solidly dry when I'm doing this. It's just to get some of it dry so that when I add more water, I'm adding another layer of effect. Now, the other one I used was actually a Lindy Stamp Gang, and I wasn't so keen on the effect I got for that, and it didn't make much of a difference, so I've lifted a good chunk of it and then went on to just dry off my page. I left it overnight so that it could dry totally, because I don't want to work wet on wet. Well, it just doesn't work. And if your paper starts to bend, flip it over, dry it from the other side, you'll get a reasonably even and level thing. That's it. Dry. Now I'm going to add some gesso just to give me a bit of background. I'm using my palette knife just to spatch it on, scrape it across the page, and you'll see the colours start to come through as the gesso dries. So I've got this canvas to work on, and the area behind it will stay as is. I'm not going to add any more water. So I'll have a play around with some photos, give myself an idea of what I'm going to use. I want to use one from one of my friend's weddings. I just fancy it, and the memory I've got from it is drinking far too many mojitos. So that's what we're going to do with it. Now I've pulled out a yellow pattern paper. For some reason, I love the way it works with this particular piece, so I'm going to use it. I'm going to use it to mat my photo, and some tissue paper over the top of that, just to flatten it down so that it's not quite so yellow and in your face, so that yellow isn't screaming at me. I've got some scraps of paper, and I'm now going to start tucking little scraps of this and that into the edges, just to see what I like and where I like it. If I like it, it gets stuck down. If I don't like it, I remove it and don't stick it down. Pretty simple. So just cutting what I need, or what I think I need, I should say. It's all trial and error from here. Now, I decided that it would be a really good idea to fussy cut these little flowers. Those of you who know me know how much I hate fussy cutting. So if I'm doing it, then I've got this big urge and think it's going to really finish off the page, which in this case it does, so that's okay. Whilst I'm cutting those out, I want to talk to you about the background. Now, it is a very vibrant in-your-face background, which is why I've used a fairly neutral colour palette at the front. I've pulled some of those pinks out, and obviously I've got that little contrasting sliver of yellow, but other than that, I'm using whites, very neutral tones, just to try and make sure I don't overwhelm everything, and also so you can see the photo and it doesn't blend into the background. The idea I've suddenly got with fussy cutting these flowers is to frame the left and right side edges of the photos, just tucking them in and tucking them round, and I think that'll look absolutely awesome. So get those cut out, and then I'll be able to stick them down. To stick them down, I will use a wet glue, mainly because they're so small and fragile. There is not a hope in hell my glue runner will cope, or I will cope actually, because I don't have the patience for that. I use up my patience whilst fussy cutting. So I'm just going to randomly arrange them around and then get them stuck down. I don't have an exact idea in mind of where each one's going to go. I just go for it and stick them down. I know not exactly how I want it to look, but I know that I've got plenty of white space either side of that photo to play with, so I'm going to make use of that. Now, after I've got those stuck down, I'm going to start messing around with my alphabets and adding a title. So I've pulled out the font I want to use. I'm going to call it Mojito and Moi. Just it rolled off the tongue and that's the memory it invokes. And I'll play around with the letter stickers till I get them in the right place and I'm happy with it, which took me a little bit of time with this. I always just pull my letters out before I begin trying to put the title down. I don't know why, I just find it a lot easier. And before I called this finished, I decided to add a few more stickers here and there. That nothing particularly amazing. There's a few enamel dots dotted around, and a couple of stickers in the left-hand corner, bottom left-hand corner and top right, as you're going to see in just a moment. So that's that page completely finished. It's really vibrant, really punchy, and just screams fun, which was the point, because that's what I had that day. I had a lot of fun despite getting very drunk. I hope it encourages you to use some inks, to use some really vibrant pigments in there, maybe some mists. If you've got any comments or something you'd like to see or any questions, just leave me a comment below. Please like the video if you enjoyed this, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you next time. Take care. Bye.